Hobby Quick Hits. Delivering that breaking hobby news directly to your earlobes. You want to know those hot drops from the card shop? We've got you covered. With your host, John Newman.
Hello everyone, welcome to episode 197 of Hobby Quick Hits. Today we're going to do a conglomerate show review of the last 2 or 3 shows that I set up as a dealer. Talk about some observations from the floor, what's selling, what people are asking for, what kind of cards I'm getting at the SGC bulk sub table, just an overall kind of market report, if you will, at least from the shows that I'm setting up at. So, not going to be a long episode, but we'll cover a little ground and talk about things I'm seeing, how things have been, all that fun stuff. So, let's get this show started.
Okay, now a quick word from our great sponsor, followed by the new product release schedule. Then we'll go around the Hobbyverse to tell you all the latest hobby happenings and news. Then we'll tackle today's topic of discussion.
Hi, this is Pat Hughes, Cubs announcer, coming to you from the Sports Card Shop in beautiful New Buffalo, Michigan. The Gocher family has built an incredible place here for collectors to buy, sell, and trade cards and memorabilia. Be sure to stop by and let them show you around. TheSportsCardShop.com, connecting sports, athletes, the hobby, and collectors around the world.
Hi, this is Alan Pinkett, and I'm here to tell you the Gocher family has done it again. They've just opened up the Sport Card Shop in downtown Valparaiso, Indiana, and it is awesome. If you're a collector, you need to check this place out. Tell them Alan sent you and get a free gift on your first visit.
Let's peruse and go through the upcoming product release schedule. Let's start with the end of the month here. January 29th, 2023, Leaf Perfect Game Baseball Bonus Box. The actual end of the month on the 31st, we have multiple products coming out. 2024, Leaf Ultimate Sports. 2024-25, Panini NBA Hoops Basketball. 2025, Topps Chrome, WWE, Blasters, Breakers Delights, Hobby, and Mega Boxes. Also on the 31st, 2023-24, Upper Deck, Clear Cut Hockey. Let's go to February 5th. Multiple releases on that day, 2025. Historic Autographs, Founding Fathers. 2024, Panini Donruss Football Hobby. 2024, Panini Photogenic Football. 2025, Pieces of the Past, 1776, the Freedom Fighters Edition. 2024, Topps Diamond Icons Baseballs. We get into a high-end product there. 2024, True Mystery Football Chips. 2023-24, Upper Deck Skybox EX 2000 Hockey. Looking forward to that one. Wild Card on February 5th has 2 releases. Illumination Lamine Yamal Rookie Comics and the 5-card draw football. Moving to the 6th, 1 release, 2023-24 Topps Midnight Basketball. Going to the 7th, a lot of releases here on February 7th, 2024, Leaf History, Book Pop Culture Edition, Chapter 1, 2025, Leaf Metal Poker, 2025, Leaf Power Slap, 2024, Panini Rookies and Stars Football. Also on the 7th, Pokemon, Scarlet and Violet, Blooming Waters Premium Collection, Prismatic Evolutions, Blasters, Tins, and Surprise Boxes. Also, staying on the 7th, 2024, Topps Dynasty Formula 1 Racing, Yu-Gi-Oh! Blue Eyes White a White Destiny structure deck. And we'll finish out with the 10th with 2025 Pulse Stratos football. So there's your releases for the next 2 weeks. Choose your weapon. Happy ripping. Good luck.
Let's go round the hobbyverse and catch up on this week's hobby news.
And find out.
Holy cow, I don't believe it.
That's right. The big news of this week, or since we last did a news segment, the Paul Skeens Major League debut patch has been discovered. An 11-year-old boy in Los Angeles, California, not far from where the wildfires are raging, pulled it. It was graded by PSA double 10 card, 10 auto. The young man, probably not a Pirates fan, so he respectfully declined the Pirates bounty, but will be putting it in and selling it with the Fanatics Collect auction, which will take place in March, along with Sotheby's. Fanatics also announced that their percentage of the profits from the sale of this card will be donated to the Wildfire Fund in California. Very cool there. This young man is going to have plenty of money to either buy some more cards, decide where he wants to go to college in about 7 or 8 years, or, splurge on whatever. I'm sure his parents will be involved there. But just an incredible pull, and obviously getting the double 10 from PSA enhances the value. Someone asked me, John, what do you think this goes for? I would guess, and that's all it is a guess, $250,000 to 1.2. I don't know. I could be off. Paul Skeens might be bidding on it himself, and he's got a few bucks. So it won't be me winning this card, that's for sure. But the Pirates themselves, they don't spend money on players. So Bob Nutting, the owner of the Pirates, probably has plenty of money to go ahead and buy this card, if it gets into a bidding war. And that's going to be the interesting part, if you have a rich collector, Bob Nutting, Paul Skeens, all kind of wanting this card at the same time. What might this bidding war, if it happens, go to? And so it's going to be very interesting to see in March what this card goes for. But, kudos to the young man. It's nice to see, a young collector. Pull of a lifetime, right? He's never going to pull anything. He kind of peaked out at 11, if you will. But that's one heck of a peak out. So congrats to the unnamed young man and his family. So on to the next story. The Major League Baseball Hall of Fame voting is complete. 3 players get in. One is no surprise. Ichiro Suzuki of Mariners lore. Played on a few other teams, Yankees, Marlins, but known for his Mariner days. Got a late start in the Major League Baseball career after playing in Japan, but made up plenty for lost time and was a no doubt Hall of Fame layup. One voter, yep, you heard me right, one voter did not vote for Ichiro. Don't ask me why. Doesn't make any sense. He should have been unanimous, and they need to. Major League Baseball and the Hall of Fame needs to look into things when that happens. But it does not tarnish the greatness of Ichiro. The 2 men will be joining him. CC Sabathia, 261 victories on the pitching mound. He doesn't knock my socks off, but when I really looked at his stats, I really couldn't argue against him. We're never going to see another 300 game winner. I think 250 wins will be the new 300 in baseball, somewhere in between that. And the third gentleman getting in, former Met, played on a few teams, And on his last year of eligibility on the regular ballot, one of the best closers. Unfortunately played in the same era with Mariano, but so he's overshadowed, as everyone was, by the greatness of Rivera. But Billy Wagner gets in on his last try. Kudos to him. I know some people aren't real, excited about that, but I think as closers go, if we're putting in closers, and we do, he definitely qualifies. I know he's not a sexy name, but I don't have a problem with him getting in. Looking a year ahead, not a great year next year, kind of led by Ryan Braun. We all know the Ryan Braun history. I don't think Ryan Braun gets in, but I think a guy that got 70% of the vote this year and just fell short actually does get in next year because of the weak class, and that's five-tool guy Carlos Beltran, who I think is being haunted by the Houston Astros, cheating scandal. It cost them the Mets managerial gig. They kind of gave it to him and then took it off the table. I think it's cost them Hall of Fame induction thus far, but I think next year's weak class gets Beltran in the Hall. We'll have to see. That remains to be seen, but stay tuned for next year's induction, which is going to be no matter what happens, it's going to be a very light class, to say the least. Fanatics announced that $1.6 billion through Topps, which is 4 times the profit that they made in 2020. So they've 4 times their company, or Topps, since 2020, here in just the beginning of 2025, as they try to expand their reach and their command of the hobbydom as they try to take over everything. And while we're talking about Fanatics, let's stay on them. They announced this spring they will open a London flagship store right in the heart of London, 8,700 square feet, so a nice big footprint for them. It will obviously house everything Fanatics, from apparel to cards, anything to carry. Mitchell and Ness, if it's Fanatics, you will find it there, from Topps products to apparel, hats, and all the stuff that they own will be in this major superstore right in downtown London as they expand. They expand their dominance, or try to. And this is the next shoe to fall, and that will be, again, this spring. Speaking of money, we have another rich young man. He's 18 years old. Duke's Cooper Flagg, a freshman phenom, who already has deals with Gatorade and New Balance, can add Fanatics to a card, memorabilia, and autograph deal. He's already in Topps Now on-demand products, and unfortunately for Panini, this shuts the door on any opportunity for them to feature him. He's exclusive now to Fanatics/Topps. So if you want, Cooper is only projected to play at Duke this year and then move on to his NBA career and be a lottery pick. So that's, you're going to have to get him out of Topps/Fanatics products. He will not appear in Panini products. So there you go there. One last story, new movie. I'm not sure I talked about this yet. It's called Hobby Hustle. Director Michael Dalt. Not his first film, but his first hobby film. He's also an author. Covers a hobby. It's not the first time we've seen this, but I haven't seen it yet, but I will be watching it, and I will be screening it, and he will be a guest. We've already confirmed Michael Dalt, the director, will be a guest on a future Sports Card Nation podcast to go over the film and the process, and we'll have him on and chop up the film and the hobby in general. So look for that in a future Sports Card Nation.
And now, our feature presentation.
All right, folks, I'm going to cover 3 shows that I've done in the last, I guess you'll say, month. The December 21st show I did at the Watertown venue, which is a monthly show. The 118th, 2025 show that I did there. And in between those, I did a show, which is not a monthly show, but every so often they have one in Fulton, New York. It's a little town north of me, about 40 minutes. I did one on January 11th there. That was my second one there. That's really the second one ever done there, and I've done both. So, starting out with the December 21st show in Watertown, little concerned with that show, 4 days before Christmas. People may be scrambling to finish up Christmas shopping, how much discretionary income might be left available for cards. I will say this, it was a good show. It was a little bit better than I was expecting, but again, I was bracing sort of for impact in the worst. So it wasn't a great show. A little slow on the card side. Still did really well on the SGC end of things. So if anything, I would say the SGC subs kind of saved the day for that show. And that's kind of what I was assuming and hoping in the very least would happen. So kind of a, not as big a crowd as we would normally see at that show. And again, I think the proximity to Christmas 4 days before, definitely didn't help, if you will. But in defense of the promoter and Andrew, you're at the discretionary of the venue when you do a monthly show, other events and things like that. And he's trying to schedule them around local shows. He's very good in that way. Other local shows in like Syracuse and Albany, he's trying not to schedule them on the same day. So that's sometimes what happens. So again, overall, I'm glad with the intake, but not typically how I would do at that show, that being said. So we fast forward about 2 weeks to the Fulton, New York show. Fulton, New York, like I said, is not, it's a small city, small town, I should say, about 40 minutes from me, between Syracuse and Oswego. To kind of give you a reference point, if familiar with Central New York. This is the second one there. Same promoter that does Watertown, Andrew, who's been on the show. This is his second show there. I did the first one. I wasn't really going to do the first one, and I kind of got peer pressured into it from my show buddy, Chad Merritt, who lives in Fulton. He's like, how are you not going to do my hometown show? So I did the first one, which was in October. Not expecting much based on location, and was shocked how well I did the first time out. Now, I went into this one, again, I had to kind of be talked off the ledge into doing it, but I almost felt obligated to do it because of how well I did at the first show. So I locked in, signed on, had my table, SGC table, bulk sub table. I went into this, folks, knowing, like, there's absolutely no way I can replicate what happened because that was more of an anomaly. Frankly, shocked. I did better at that show than some of my bigger shows. Don't ask me why or how or what happened. I don't have a logical explanation. It's one of those Saturdays where you sell some nice cards, intakes, and it was a great show. Again, I went into this one knowing, like, if you expect that, you're going to be setting yourself up for disappointment. So I kind of went in, again, I guess I do this a lot. I kind of go in and I expect the worst, so it, if that happens, it maybe doesn't sting as much. This was okay to good show. Like I said, I knew it wasn't going to be what the first one was, but started off slow, and it really was looking like it was going to be sort of a dud show, and really slow start on both sides, right? On my card side, on the SG side, and I'm like, yep, kind of what I thought was going to happen is happening. Kind of a rush after like 11 a.m. And had a couple nice sales. A couple folks bought a bunch of cards, kind of get a break on buying multiples, and a couple single card sales. And the SGC table even picked up towards the end. I was even packing up, and someone came up as I was packing up and turned in some cards for grading. So kind of a late rush, really salvaged the day from being a bad show to an okay show. That's nice when that can happen rather than, have a bad show. Listen, bad shows happen, right? Sometimes it's no fault of anybody, timing. A week later, I did the Watertown show again. First one after that near Christmas one, which was just okay. This one this another one where kind of late rushes really made it a very good show. It was kind of a good show. I guess I use those terms, right? Bad, good, and very good, and excellent, right? The 4 tiers, I guess I use. So this it was a good show, became a very good show based on some late rushing, late sales, and subs. The SGC table really, really did well. Really put us over the top of, intake and financial side of the house. So very pleased with this show, and I think there's something to be said about the show before near Christmas. I think people have had their discretionary income that they're used to back, and seemed like there's more people. Early on there was quite a bit of people, but it wasn't, in kind of evaluating how I was doing, it didn't seem to match up. But when the final tally came in, and I don't know if I've ever said this when I've talked about my show experiences. I don't count funds during the show. I kind of have a little bit of a shoulder bag, that I wear in front of me. As I make sales and make change, it comes in and out of that. Some dealers will pull their wad out, if you will, and count their money to see how they're doing. I don't do that. I don't know. I think there's a little superstition there, guys. I don't do that. I can kind of gauge by looking and just how the show's going, but I don't actually have an official count till I get home, kind of go here in my office and really break down the funds, and different things like that. So when I got home, I realized it was that second half of the day that really put us over the top from a good show to a very good one. That's how I kind of classify. Bad, good, very good, and excellent. So, the last excellent show I would say that I had was probably in October at the fairgrounds. The fairgrounds is a bigger show. You're getting, almost four figures coming doors or close. It's a show I've done for 20 years, so I have some clientele. It's near my house. It's just a good show for me. So it's hard, it's not, in fairness to these smaller venues, it's not really fair to kind of compare them all the time. Although in some of these smaller venue shows, I do very so. In July in Watertown, I had a big fairgrounds type result. So you don't sleep, as I often say, on some of these smaller shows. Really, with some of the inventory I have, guys, and I'm not trying to be braggadocious, I sell one card out of my case. It could be 4 figures right there alone. And that does happen. Maybe not as often as you want it to, but that does happen. So, that being said, that's why I don't sleep on these small shows. So going back to the 18th, basically last week, very good on the SG. I'd say good on the card side, very good on the SGC side. I had a couple big submissions and made it a big order going to SGC, which is still there, but we'll be back in 10 to 12 days. So really happy with that show. As we prepared. And one thing I'm going to be doing, the promoter of the fairground show has added some quality in hotel shows that I've signed up for, at least for this year, and test the waters there. So my show schedule, in terms of card shows setting up at, is going to ramp up. I've been averaging 1.5 per month. I think that's going to be 2 per month. And some months where I might have 3 shows out of the 4 weeks. So something one of my hobby resolutions, if you will, is setting up at more shows. So in those efforts, quality being added, I'm definitely doing that for sure. Some observations. What kind of cards am I getting on the SGC side? There's a point there where I was getting a ton of Victor Wembanyama's. That has kind of slowed down. Getting a lot of Ellie De La Cruz cards submitted. I think as people start to realize, like, he appears to be legit. I think everyone was worried about maybe a sophomore slump or jinx. Getting a lot of Jaden Daniels, obviously, now, for obvious reasons. Josh Allen, got to remember my proximity to Buffalo. Josh Allen and the Bills, a very popular team. Michael Jordan, always strong. A lot of vintage. I get a lot of vintage. A heavy Mantle. Mickey Mantle's a staple with my bulk subs. I love Mantles and vintage in general. Mays, your Aarons. This last sub had a lot of big cards in it. With Ricky Henderson's passing recently, I'm getting a lot of Ricky Henderson cards. There were 16 rookies submitted on this last bulk sub. And so typically what you think. No real outliers there, at least that stood out to be. A guy I love, Bobby Witt Jr. Not seeing as much as I would think you'd see of him. CJ Stroud has sort of slowed down in terms of people submitting cards of him. Like, he kind of had he did well in the playoffs, but he had kind of a slow ending to his regular season, and we were getting more tentative there. And so that's kind of the market report on the SGC bulk subbing side. As far as the selling side, vintage is always a strong to me. I'm redoing my setup. I just had vintage sort of in a card catalog box. My buddy makes wooden boxes which are open aired, where they're more easily accessible. I'm going to go to that format and then have my vintage broken down by years, right? Pre 50s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and then 80. And it'll be, I think, being out in the open, more people access. Being broken down, I think you get people who look through it more, because before I just had them in one long box, right? And you'd have a 1950 card next to a 1980 card. Now kind of organizing them better. People who are looking for the 50s will grab that stack of 1950 vintage stars and not have to weed through the other stuff. Those looking for 1980 stuff will grab that section of cards without having to do the other stuff. So I think it's going to be more convenient, and I think when you make stuff more convenient, I think you make more sales. I think they kind of go hand in hand. I think people appreciate, saving them some time, right? They save some time, they're in a good mood, maybe they spend some money, and then they go on to the next table. So it's funny. It seems like every 3 or 4 months, how I set up. Sometimes that costs me a little bit money when I have to buy new kind of cases and things like that. So, but it's a business write-off, right? It's a business expense. So it's a tax write-off when I do it. It seems, like I said, every 3, 4, or 5 months, I'm kind of changing. I'm trying to find one that I can stay with long term. I think this one is probably the closest I'm going to get to. It's going to actually allow me to maximize my space on my table. These wood cases I'm talking about, one can kind of go in front of the other, so it saves some table space. I got my stand-up cases, that's not changing. I got my VisiPro cases, 2 or 3 depending on how much table space I have. I'm going vertical with those, which will open up more table space. So again, I'm always sort of tinkering and getting my kind of blueprint and cases I use to maximize my 1 or 2 tables that I have for my cards. I'm not talking about the SG. That's kind of static, and I set that up the same way. But on my card side of the house, I'm always sort of trying to figure out the best layout and blueprint. And I think I'm at this next show, I'll be probably the closest I'll be to like really where I want to get it. So I say that, and probably 4 or 5 months from now, I'll change it again. But that's just kind of what I do. It's like rearranging. It's like moms and females with house. Hey, let's change the furniture around today. Let's move the couch, let's move the TV, and that sort of thing. I kind of do that with my show set up. But so there you go. So we'll, my next show will have the new kind of format and setup, how that goes and how it's received, and maybe report back when that happens. So there you go. There's the show, my show in Market Report, if you will, here in the central New York